We are 10 days away from Broncos versus Titans. And now that the 53 is officially set and the practice squad is officially set, how about a little Broncos news dump? Welcome in, Broncos country, to the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. On today's episode, I got you covered, baby. Broncos practice squad. I'm going to go through all 17 players. Very nice. A little addition this morning. I'm going to talk some Marvin Mims potential injury. Don't worry, it's not nearly as bad as we think. And then Frank Crum, this kind of ninth man on the offensive line, garnering trade interest. I'll talk about that as well. But before I do, I just want to give a quick thank you to you guys. You have been unbelievable in your support. I've been getting down to the comments, reading what you guys have to say, and the overwhelming majority of you, because there's always going to be a few here and there that don't like me, and that's fine. But the overwhelming majority of you have had great things to say, and I cannot wait to take this team into the 2025 season and cover it just for you. And that's why you need to join the Noti Gang. Join the Broncos Breakdown family by hitting that subscribe button. Then click that bell icon, that little bell notification, and then select the all option because you do not want to ever miss any video that we put out or any time that we go live. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the meat and potatoes of today's video. The Broncos signed 17 practice squad players. It was 16 when I got into work this morning, and then suddenly, Mike Kliss came in with this. Patrick Murtaugh, a former Australian footballer, is the 17th and final practice squad member under the IPP exemption. There was a lot of fans that were saying, how does the IPP work, Moose? It's very easy. If you have an international pathway player, they can add an extra spot on your practice squad, making it 17 instead of 16. So it doesn't count towards the active roster. It adds to your practice squad. Speaking of which, here are the final members of that P squad. Frowny face emoji. Lavelle Bailey. Caleb Lohner, Michael Bandy, Joe Milchowski, Sam Ellinger, and then Jordan Miller coming in at that nose tackle position. He's going to be an interesting play to see if he gets up on there. Some other members, Quentin Newsome at corner, A.T. Perry, Adam Prentice, who might get called up a few times. We'll see. Jaden Robinson and Keydron Smith. And then your final five here, Reese Taylor, Calvin Throckmorton, Jordan Turner, Delaren Turner-Yell, and Garrett Wallow coming in. Those are your final members of the Denver Broncos practice squad. By the way, I do want to mention to you how this works in terms of same-day activation or getting elevated from the practice squad to the active 53-man roster. You can do 2 players at a time on game day. So 2 players on your practice squad can be promoted on game days. They then return to the practice squad unless the team offers them a deal, meaning a contract. See how this is working? There are 3 players that Broncos media members all over have kind of universally agreed that could be the call-ups. That being, of course, my favorite practice squad member, Lavelle Bailey. Adam Prentice, who would probably get in first because of his role as a fullback, meaning Sean Payton would want to put him in as an extra blocker or in specific offensive packages. And then, of course, Calvin Throckmorton, because he is a veteran guard that could step in at any point and add that depth that you need in case of an emergency or if there, God forbid, is an injury. All right, let me ask you then, because I just gave you 3 guys that I believe could do it. My answer is Lavelle Bailey, but which Bronco should get activated to the 53, or Broncos if you think it's more than one? Let me know in the comments section down below. I think you know where I stand. Now, coming up here in just a second, I'm going to tell you guys about this Marvin Mims injury, or injury, so to speak, because Sean Payton clearly doesn't seem too concerned about it, although from the tweets that we got yesterday, there's a reason that there was a slight moment of panic. Now, before we get into that, I have to tell you about today's sponsor, and that, of course, is Prize Picks. My friends, football season is officially here, and you do not want to miss a single bit of action, so download the Prize Picks app right now. It is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. It's very simple to play. Just pick 2 to 6 players and their stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Want to see one of my cook-ups? Here you go. This is my college football lineup. I have not made my pro one yet, but I took Haynes King on the more, Arch Manning on the more passing yards, Jeremiah Smith on the more, and then for more glutton, I put Lenore Sellers on the more passing yards as well. Yours can look just like mine or completely different. So go to your app store, click that download button, and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. I'm going to have all of that in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, so Marvin Mims, let's talk about him briefly because after yesterday's tweet from Zach Stevens, things were a little dicey. I got a little panicked, not going to lie. And then about 25 minutes after that initial tweet from Zach Stevens, which we'll show you here in just a second, everything got calm. The waters were calmed, and I was like, okay, we're doing a lot better. But this is the one that we saw. Marvin Mims is being evaluated for a groin injury. That's why he left practice early. Earlier, he was like, I can't report on to you as to why he left because of media reporting guidelines. But the team does not appear to be overly concerned. In fact, Sean Payton took to the mic. He said he's being tested for a groin injury. I'm not worried about it. And if Payton's not worried about it, I'm not worried about it. And neither should you. I trust Sean Payton to give us accurate information. He's not a coach that just kind of throws information out all willy-nilly and then just kind of like throws back and forth of a different opinion or like, oh, well, we'll see. No, he's very direct. He lets you know exactly what he's thinking. And it's a good thing that the Marvin Mims injury is not crazy concerning. Why? Because this is an important role for the Denver Broncos depth chart. This Broncos wide receiver room is only comprised of 5 players: Sutton, Mims, Franklin, Bryant, and Sherfield. Marvin Mims is also the ultimate gadget player, so he's not just a wide receiver. We're talking about a guy that can do it in the backfield. He can do it as a wide receiver. He can do it on special teams. So having Marvin Mims as a disposable offensive threat is going to be key for the Broncos, especially setting the tone week 1 against the Tennessee Titans. You got Cam Ward coming in to Mile High in his very first NFL game. You're going to need your offensive trendsetters to really kind of set the pace so that that defense can go out and do its thing. And I want to show you guys something right here because I cooked this up this morning. I started thinking about it. I'm like, what are my 2025 offensive projections for the wide receivers? Or at least the offensive guys that I believe are going to make the most happen in receiving yards because Evan Ingram's a tight end. Cortland Sutton at 82 receptions for a little over 1,100 yards. He's going to be your number 1. Evan Ingram, I think, has a bounce back year, ends up with around 70 receptions, a little over 700 yards. But look at Marvin Mims. 47 receptions, almost 600 yards, and 5 touchdowns just through the air. I think you're going to see far more on the ground because he's going to get into certain packages on jet sweeps and the like, but also in all-purpose yards as a special teams player. So here's what I need you to do. If you love Marvin Mims, if you're like producer Sam Brown, who is a big Oklahoma fan, Boomer Sooner, I almost got that wrong, spam those 19s down in the chat below. Show some love to Marvin Mims. I want to wrap up today's episode by talking about a backup offensive lineman. I know. Why are we talking about Frank Crum, who's listed like last on the depth chart? Well, there's a reason. Apparently, according to Sean Payton, Crum has been getting a lot of trade interest. In fact, apparently 3 teams called to trade for Frank Crum. But also, according to Sean Payton, that does not cloud their vision for Crum. Here's what he specifically had to say. Talking about the athleticism, a player that has had 3 teams call on him. It's the upside and the size and athleticism, his feet and his protection that makes him such a valuable asset. We have a clear and really good vision for what we think he can become. The ceiling is high. You can tell there are other teams doing their homework the exact same way. So a little bit more about Frank Crum. A UDFA out of Wyoming, joined in 2024. He's a former first-team All-Mountain West offensive lineman, and he played 33 total snaps. Majority of that was on special teams last year for the Broncos. 24 out of 33, believe it or not, were on special teams. But I do believe that Crum offers that high upside that Sean Payton is talking, specifically because the Broncos are trying a brand new zone blocking scheme this year. And I've talked to a couple of fans about this specific scheme. It's no longer a man-on-man blocking scheme. I'll explain here in just a second. But Crum gets to work in tandem now with other Denver Broncos offensive linemen. I'm going to play weatherman for you because this is what it looks like. This is what is a stereotypical offensive zone blocking scheme. So essentially, instead of you taking on one player directly in front of you, the guard and the tackles kind of attack one zone rather than one player. And if one specific type of defensive package is scheming to the outside on an angled cut, you can flip to the outside or you can stay inside. It is a way to make sure to beat edge rushers as that position has emerged. And younger players, this benefits them the most because they're not responsible anymore for these one-on-one matchups, right? You don't have to go up against a guy like Nick Bosa by yourself. You know what I mean? If you're thrust into the bowels of the game and Crum is now tasked with guarding someone like Myles Garrett or Nick Bosa or whomever is a great edge rusher, he now has a little bit of extra support. That's why zone blocking is so important. And remember, he's not going to be a player that is going to be a starter. So he has the ability now to sit back and learn, do it in practice, and also learn from the best behind the likes of a Garrett Bowles or a Mike McGlinchey. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing from this offensive line. I think Payton has a clear vision for what they want to do, and I'm really excited to see what it trots out and looks like come week 1. Reminder that when Broncos news hits, we make videos. So join the Broncos Breakdown family today and hit that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to put a little like on today's video. It also helps grow the channel. That's going to do it for us today, Broncos fans. Thank you so much. We'll be back later with some more updates surrounding your favorite team. A mile-high salute to you, and as always, be cool.